When you think of classic Disney movies, what comes to mind? For some, it may be the animated Disney princess movies like Cinderella or Snow White or Sleeping Beauty. For other people, it might be live action. It might be something like Mary Poppins. But whatever the case may be, chances are what comes to mind first is not The Sword in the Stone. Now, I just rewatched The Sword in the Stone. It's probably my third viewing at this point. It's a movie I never really saw as a kid, even though I was raised on those previously mentioned Disney classics. I never saw The Sword in the Stone as a kid, to my knowledge, to my memory. I watched it, I believe, for the first time maybe 3 or 4 years ago at this point. And it's one of those ones that kind of just sticks with me. It's a very nostalgic movie for me because it really reminds me of the movies that I grew up on. It's got that similar feel, that old 2D animation. And aside from that, it's got a similar style of music and just a similar sound with the voice acting and all of that. And so it just really brings out those nostalgic emotions in me. Disney's The Sword in the Stone was directed by Wolfgang Reitherman, which, if you don't know, he is a director who's directed a lot of the Disney classics. If you've seen Disney classic animated movies from any time in the 20th century, chances are you've seen one he's directed. And as you can probably guess from the title of the movie, it's the story of King Arthur and how he pulls the sword from the stone and becomes king. So once you get through the opening credits, which I find to be very nostalgic because of the music and just the feel and the look of them, that nostalgia just continues on with it being a classic story, one that a lot of people heard about or grew up on in some capacity. And so this movie for me is just a wave of nostalgia from the very beginning to the very end. And speaking of this being just a classic and iconic story, I find the characters in this movie in particular to be very classic and iconic as well. They might not be the most well-known Disney characters, they might not share the limelight with a lot of the newer characters, a lot of the big superstars like Mickey, Donald, Goofy either, but these characters are classic in the way that this is the version of the characters that I think of first. When I'm thinking about the story of King Arthur, when I'm thinking about The Sword in the Stone, when I'm thinking about Merlin the Magician, these are the versions of the characters that come to mind first. And there have been many iterations of King Arthur and of Merlin the Magician in various shows, various movies, various mediums. And I do think of some of those other versions when I'm thinking of the general story of The Sword in the Stone. But for me at least, this is probably the version of the characters that will always come to mind first. And speaking of these characters and this specific version of the characters, this is the only version of
The magnificent, marvelous Madam Mim
that I've ever seen. So I don't have any other reference for this character. This is the definitive version of that character for me. Now, something that stands out to me in this movie is that our hero character, Arthur, / the Wart if you prefer, this character is voiced by 3 different boys. And I think it's very noticeable. You can tell a lot of times when they swap from voice actor to voice actor, the voices are very different. And I'll leave this little example here.
I wish Merlin was here.
It's something that I honestly don't remember noticing the first time I watched this movie because I was just immersed in the story. Sometimes I just turn my brain off and enjoy the movie unless something really just punches me in the face and knocks me out of it. And this is one of those films where I was just immersed in the story and wasn't really paying attention. But upon rewatch, it's very noticeable. Now, like I said, these particular characters, as part of the Disney pantheon, do not get the spotlight very much. There are some characters who are older than they are that get more spotlight than they do, like Mickey, Donald, Goofy. And I would say most newer characters by Disney get more spotlight than they do. This movie is not very high profile anymore. I would be surprised if people remember this in a general sense. And it wouldn't shock me at all to learn that Gen Z and people who are my age and a little bit younger have never seen this movie. Many probably don't even know it exists. But all that being said, this movie is notable for several reasons. The first one being that this is the first Disney animated film to be directed by only one director. Previous animated Disney movies were directed by multiple directors, either in pieces or as a collaborative effort. So this movie kind of did away with all that, and Wolfgang Reitherman directed this movie solo. And on top of that, this movie is notable because it's the last animated animated movie that Walt Disney produced and the last to release before his death. I really do enjoy this version of the characters that's presented in this movie and this version of the story. I think it's fun, I think it's whimsical, I think it's lighthearted, and it's just a great time. Upon this rewatch, I realized that Merlin, or Marvin if you prefer, is really caked up. Now here's the thing, we know that Merlin, or Marvin, can transform into different animals. We know he can do all these different things with magic. Do we think he got his dump truck through magic, or do we think he worked for it? This is one of those movies that's kind of highly memeable, even though there's not really any memes of this movie that I've seen. Outside of the whole Merlin dump truck situation, I was thinking of memes I could make this whole entire rewatch. For example,
"You'd better pack up your bag of tricks and be gone."
But let me not go down the whole meme rabbit hole right now. Overall, I really enjoyed this story. If you haven't seen this movie, I recommend giving it a watch, especially if you grew up on animated movies like this. This is one that's going to open up those nostalgia reservoirs inside of you, and I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I do. For those of you who have never seen this movie, did you even know it existed? Because at this point, it's what, 60-something years old? It's not a new movie by any means. If you're a younger person, you may have never even realized that this movie existed. It's way before your time. It's before my time as well, and I basically had to discover it for myself as an adult. Maybe you have seen this movie and you just didn't remember it until now. It's one of those ones that you watched way back when as a kid and you kind of just forgot about because there are so many movies. So if you have seen this movie, let me know what you think of it down in the comments down below. Is it one that you grew up with? Is it one that you discovered later in life? Let me know down in the comments. But that's all I really got to say about The Sword and the Stone. I really enjoyed this movie. Go check it out if you haven't. If you want to help me out here on YouTube, liking this video, commenting on this video, subscribing to the channel, or checking out some of my other videos, all those things help me grow the YouTube channel. What animated movie should I tackle next? I'm working my way through some of them while I'm building myself up to eventually want to watch a TV show again. I'm taking baby steps because I wasn't watching anything for a long time. But yeah, until next time. Bye.
Well, by Jove. Hey, he's gone.
Good riddance.